So today we'll also follow this HTML tutorial from W3 Schools. Okay, this is HTML sample HTML document from W3 Schools. But before everything, what are the things you need? Okay, there are a few things you need before starting HTML. You don't need to have internet connection. That's the first thing. Okay, may or may not. And the second thing is you need a text editor, or you can use your notepad, or we have multiple text editors like Notepad++. So Notepad++, you can use Ultra Edit. This is Ultra Edit, or else we have Visual Studio Code. Today we will be using this Visual Studio Code. Okay, so let me open. Are you able to see my screen? Okay, let me share my screen. Yeah, okay. Let me open Visual Studio. Before Visual Studio, we'll do some programming with using Notepad. Okay. This is Visual Studio. Before that, we'll start something with our Notepad. Okay. Okay. First, this is a very blank place. So basically, HTML is a set of tags. Okay. Each HTML tag will start with less than, and then tag name, and then greater than. So after that, we will have content. Content is nothing but if you want to specify anything, you will be placed here. At the end, you will have closing tag. Closing tag with less than slash tag name. Okay, this is how HTML tags will be created. Tag name, and middle we will have content, and again we will have tag name. And there are some tags just will have like tag name only. They don't have any ending tags or closing tags. It will have only just a tag name. So now I want to write a simple HTML program. We can take this as an example, but we'll start with very simple ones like HTML. This is the starting tag. So whenever you start some tags, right, you need to have a closing tag, HTML again. Okay, let me save this file as index.html. Index.html. So this is the file extension you need to give. If you are using text editor, right, you can select all files and you should give this in double quotes. This is one way. So I'm saving this file. Now I'm opening the same file which I created just now. Okay, this is my index.html. On your system, you have to install in any browser, Edge, Chrome, or any other browser, or Firefox. Just need to click on this one. It will open your page. So currently we don't have any details in here, right? That's why it's showing a blank page. I'm writing something. This is not the right way, but I'm writing some values here. I just saved that file. Again, I'm refreshing here. See, I got the details. So, for example, just imagine if you do like this, right? You don't have any structure for your page. That's why we'll structure our data before using it. To structure your data, there are multiple ways. Like these are the different HTML tags we have, like headings, paragraph styles, formatting, comments, colors. We have multiple tags for HTML. We will use one by one in our going on in our sessions. Okay, so this is how we can use these tags. Let me go back to here. Just like our human body, okay, we will have a header, body, footer. Okay, these are the some main tags in any HTML page. For example, if you open our website, ITYJAR, so any page is divided into three parts: header, body. At the end, we'll have footer. So, for example, in this page, we call this as a that we should select another color. In this page, all this part will be called as header. Okay, this is nothing but body of this particular HTML page. Everything, middle content. At the end, you will have something like this, right? This part, this blue color part, we call it as footer. And if you, for example, if you open any google.com, annotations are still there. Let me clear these, clear all drawings. Yeah, it's clear. See, if you see Google page, at the top you will see, right? This will call it as header, or some people will call it as menu. Like menu is part of header. We'll call it as navigation menu and all. And this content, right? Middle content, we'll call it as body of this particular website. At the end, we will have this content, right? This one. Everything call it as footer. So you have to remember, like whenever you want to do something in HTML, you have to remember these things. And what content we will place in header, footer, or body. So before going to that discussion, we'll start some basic definitions of HTML, okay? Okay, just read out these 5 lines. Okay, these are the some main lines about HTML. So whenever someone asks, for example, you got trained on HTML, then they will expect these 5 lines. Like HTML stands for hypertext markup language, and then it will be used to create web pages. As we discussed before, it will create a structure of a web page, like how you want to look that particular web page. That's why we call it as structure of web page. And HTML will consist of a series of elements. Elements are nothing but, for example, you can see, right? This is the sample HTML page. We have multiple elements or nothing but each one we call it as element, and some call it as tags. Each tag contains set of contents. For example, this particular screen, right? At the top, you will have logo, and then we have some menu items, and we have search bar, a toggle to change from day and night, and login and sign up buttons. And this we call it as a sidebar, left sidebar, and this is right sidebar. At the end, will have a footer. This particular page don't have footer like others, but see, for example, this getting scrolling here. So this everything will be called as footer. So come back to the basics. So HTML consists of series of elements. Okay, HTML elements tell the browser how to display the content. So what are the details you will write in elements, right? That will be used to display our content in HTML page. Okay. And so we'll be using this particular sample document to create our first page in HTML. I'm going to use Visual Studio. If you don't have Visual Studio, don't worry, you can use Notepad. Okay, let me open folder. Previously, we created a HTML page, right? We'll be using the same folder. So our Visual Studio will import that particular folder and it will show all the content in that HTML file. Okay, instead of write, let me write and refresh it one by one. Okay. Okay. So here we'll have like first, for example, in document, for example, if you open a Word file, how you got to know that's a Word file? Because of that extension, docx or doc, doc. If there's an Excel file, we'll have XLX, and we have like, for example, you have any text file, that extension will be txt. But coming to HTML page, the extension will be .html. Okay, that's a direct one. So index.html is our page. So let me create a sample HTML page here. So what's the advantage of this Visual Studio is it will give some predefined values for you. For example, whenever I type less than, it's automatically given like doc type as HTML. It's automatically generated. But if you are using any notepad, you don't get this feasibility. Okay. So that's why we wanted to use Visual Studio. Maybe starters, you can try with Notepad for a couple of weeks. Then you can switch on to Visual Studio. That will give you a better understanding of HTML tags. But for today's session, we'll be going to use Visual Studio so that our code will be a little faster. So let me select HTML. See, it is setting language as English. You can click tab on your system. So it automatically generates that one. So whenever you open a tag, there should be closing tag. Okay. So that's why we need a closing tag. See, that is HTML. As we previously discussed, right, we will have three parts. Head. So I'm giving a head and we have body. Head. What will place in head? Between head tags, what is the content you don't want to show? Okay. So the content related to like logo, sorry, not logo. For example, if any CSS files or any favicon files, like logo kind of things, like it will be show up at the top of your browser. For example, this G icon, right, that we call it as favicon. And this one we call it as a logo. So you can display logo from using these head tags. So we can place similar content. And also you can specify some scripting files, like if you are using any JavaScript or any other scripting files, you can use these head tags. Let me start with this one. I'm just copying this particular page here. So we already saved this file as index.html. So go to index.html, just open that particular file. See my first heading, my first paragraph. For example, if you want to change this content, like my first HTML class. Okay. And in paragraph, you are specifying like from ITwiser. Save this file. Again, go to your browser and refresh it. So it automatically updated. If you want to see this content, right? What are the content is there? Any website. For example, if you open Google website, just right click on your browser and click on view page source. So it will display all the content of that particular web page. For example, if you click on our page, right? Just view page source. See, doc type as HTML tag, and we have one HTML closing tag, and we have title for the page, like page title is displaying at the top, right? So you can change that page title. I'm changing page title as HTML workshop. I'm saving that file. Again, refreshing here. See, let me refresh. See, it got updated. HTML workshop. And so what else we want to do? Now, you ever hear about mobile responsive? Like, for example, there are some websites which are mobile responsive and some of them are not. For example, if you consider ITwiser, if you just see the button size getting changed and also the content also got changed. That's why we call it as responsive. Similar thing for Google as well. If you change your browser size, see website look and feel will change. And also as a developer, right, you can inspect elements. Just right click on any web page and click on inspect. During testing phase of your HTML page, people will use this inspect elements so that, for example, if there is any error, right, it will show up here. So I am changing to like this. Yes, you can play with this one. Click on inspect element again. You will get into this particular mode and you can drag and drop. See, at the top, you will have different dimensions. You can select iPhone. This is how it will look in iPhone. And if you select iPad mini, this is how it will look. And if you select some next hub, it will look like this. So this, what we call it as responsive. You don't know how to make a website responsive, you will learn in upcoming sessions. And coming for today's session, we'll go with some basic HTML things. Always you can come here and you can read about each and every tag, what that HTML tag refers to. See, for example, doc type HTML, it will say it's an HTML5 document. Okay, so doc type refers to HTML5. So the thing is, we have multiple versions of HTML. You can use all the versions, but some of them are not supported with latest browsers. That's why, for example, whenever you open some government websites, content is not visible because they wanted to use Internet Explorer. But Internet, that IE is very old, right? So you cannot open some of the website. That's why there are some tricks you have to do. You can download a IE file from some third-party websites, or else you can enable IE mode in your Edge browser, reload in Internet Explorer mode. This is also you can try to load those websites. See, this is the content we have, right? And it explained each and every tag what it will do. See, HTML. This is the root tag of an HTML page. For example, if you create any HTML page, this HTML tag will be the root tag. Consider this particular web page, view page source. If you see at the top or middle of this particular page, you will see at the top you will have doctype as HTML. This is an HTML5 tag, and then we have HTML, that is the root tag with the language as set to English. For example, there are some websites which consist of multiple languages and they support multiple languages. Then the people will go for different EN, US, EN. You can get these details. For example, Arab, they will use different notation. And for example, if it is Greek or Spanish, they will go for different languages. So at that time, they will specify the language here. Okay. And also we have head. Head element contains meta information about the HTML page. Meta information is nothing but, for example, just like what your head refers to. It will have eyes, nose, and using your head only people will recognize you. In the same way, head element contains meta information about HTML page. Meta information like what is that HTML page all about? What is the content of that particular HTML page? These are the things will be specific. We will mention in a head tag. For example, here in head tag, we mentioned title as page title. So here we are naming our HTML page, saying like this HTML page refers to, okay, HTML workshop. Okay, that's how we will name the HTML pages. And we have body. Body is nothing but all the details, like what are the details you want to specify in your website, you will specify that in body tag. And we have H1, element defines. Okay, let me put this side and click like this. If you want to close this, just click here, it will close. Okay. Another thing with Visual Studio, right? Whenever you hover your mouse here, it will give MDN reference. That's a Mozilla Developers Network. You can click on this particular link. It will open a web page about head tag. It also gives so much information about how head tag will be useful. For example, in this head tag, we'll have meta. We already discussed it, right? Head contains meta information about HTML page. This is how you will provide this meta information here. Okay. In the similarly, we have P tag, nothing but paragraph. H1 tag is nothing but heading. For example, if you see this particular web page, we have different sizes for each and every text here. For example, HTML tutorial, that is heading. And then we have similar headings here. HTML home, introduction, editor. Coming here, the HTML's text size is increased. That is another heading. This is nothing but some body content, normal paragraphs. And then we have some bold content like study free HTML tutorial. It's went to bold. You can inspect element right clicking on that. See, we have multiple tags in HTML. We'll learn one by one. So we'll focus on back to basics. I'm reviewing other tabs. I'm just refreshing this particular page. This is our testing page. So we already discussed about HTML editors. HTML editors are like Ultra Edit, Notepad++, and so many other editors we can use. to write an HTML page. So you don't need any fancy IDEs and all. You just use your notepads. Okay, so directly we'll go to HTML elements. As we discussed again, how the elements will be created, like there will be a tag name and then there will be a closing tag. This will call it as opening tag, and the content goes here, like content between these tags. At the end, we will have closing tag. Okay, my first HTML online class, that's with heading, right? It's with H1. That's why it's showing very bold in bold letters. And also, if you see here, there is no fancy items, but if you add H1 tag, it will show up like this, bold item. For example, this is a paragraph, so that's why it don't have any content. It's just showing like from IT Visor because we are using just paragraph tag. For example, if you use any of the H1 or H2 tag here, let me from IT Visor, I am placing this IT Visor in H1 again. So starting tag here, H1. I'm placing it like this. I'm saving that particular file and refreshing it. See, from IT Visor went to bold. If we change this content to 2, save it. See, just for example, I want it like this. H2 tag. I'm just placing it multiple times and changing these values to 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5. I'm saving this file and refreshing it. So tag size got changed. This heading size got changed from top to bottom. H1, H2, H3, H4, H5. We have up to H6. We have tags up to H6. Just save it here and refresh it. See? For example, previously discussed, there are two types of tags. One will have opening tag and closing tag, and some don't have anything. For example, if you see here, H1 will have opening tag H1 and ending tag or closing tag as H1 again with slash. Paragraph will have P. Again, we have slash P. That is the closing tag. Coming to BR line break, we don't have any content and also we don't have any ending tag. Okay, that's how tags will be created. Okay, so for example, we are breakdowning this particular example here. We have HTML root tags. Under that, we have body tags. Same story, like body is the starting tag and body is the ending tag. So all the content we will place inside this body. For example, here inside body we will have H1P. H1 is nothing but heading and P is nothing but paragraph. We have one paragraph and one heading inside these HTML tags. So we can create some fancy HTML page here, like for example, Okay, this is our Google page and you want to edit this particular Google page. You can download and save it as an HTML file, or else you can change details like this. You can inspect on element and you can select this particular element like this. I'm changing dimension back to normal, that's why. See, blurred vision. So if you want to test your website with who is having any eye issues, okay, then you can go with this so that at least they will understand with little blur. So let me change our website look and feel. See, in the input, we have something like Google search. So I'm changing this Google search value, IT Vizag search. It got changed? No, right? Why it not changed? Because it's a label. And we have something called value, right? Value we have to change. IT Vizag search. See, this value got changed. IT Vizag search got changed. In the similar way, if you want to change this Gmail content, just right click here and click on inspect element. See, it will open. Again, you have to look for value. But here we don't have any value here. Then you have to remember this particular rule. See how HTML tags, tag name, tag name. This is the opening tag, and this is a closing tag. And middle we will have content. Okay, so come back to HTML and see, is there any starting tag or sorry, opening tag or closing tag? See here, A is a opening tag here, and we have A closing tag, and middle we will have content. So we have to update this content. I just updated with QWERTY. See, the file got changed. The thing is, it will change file inside your browser only. Okay, it won't affect any of the Google files. Okay, that's how it will be created. So whatever changes you will make, those are temporary changes. Whenever you refresh your page, everything gone. For example, I'm just refreshing this particular page. See, it become Google search. Google search at the top, we changed the Gmail to QWERTY. It got changed back to Gmail. So this is the understanding you need to have whenever you are working with HTML pages. So basically you have to remember these things. There are some tags will have start tag and end tag, or else opening tag and closing tag. And the middle will have content of that particular tag. And some tags don't have any content and some tags don't have any ending tags. But if you see these content in this particular HTML page, right, you have some other information inside a tag. For example, consider this, not this Gmail. Okay, I'm just inspecting Gmail. See, this is the starting tag A and closing tag A, but inside A we have some content, class, area label, data PID, href. What all these about? We call it as attributes. Attributes are nothing but additional information about HTML elements or HTML tags. For example, there is a link, but the link have some other details. Then we'll use some attributes. Okay, and all HTML elements can have attributes. That means, for example, paragraph element can have attributes, and also H1 tags can have attributes. And we have like different tags, italic, bold, or else we have buttons, HTML buttons, and text boxes, and also linked list, and also drop down. So all these contents can have attributes. So you have to remember attributes, what it refers to. It stores some additional information. Okay, attributes always store additional information about HTML element. Without attributes, HTML pages can work? Yes, pages can work, but pages don't have what the information we need to have. For example, for example, if you see this particular page, right? Let me open it. If you see this particular page, without attributes, you cannot say some details like, for example, maybe it will be useful for programmers. They will use these attribute values to fetch some details. For example, here in this A, nothing but anchor tag that will be used for links, HTML links, we'll use A tag. A is nothing but anchor. So in this particular tag, we have something called href, we call it as attribute. So this href will have content like links. So link data will be provided in href tags. Okay. So in this href, you will have these links. So coming back to HTML attributes, we have like attributes always specified in the start tag. That is nothing but, so whenever you want to have an attribute, it always present in starting tag. See here, A is a starting tag. That's why we have all these attributes inside A anchor tag. After that, we have closing tag, but it don't have any information. And the final verdict, attributes usually come in name and value pairs. So every attribute will have name and it will have a value. Name, value. So that's how attributes will be defined with name and value pairs. Okay, for example, consider they provided an anchor tag. So this is our tag and this is the attribute. See, I changed these to IT Vizag, but nothing got changed here. Why? Because we are changing inside attribute content, but we are not changing visible content to users. So visit W3 schools, that the content will be visible to users. So for example, if you change this visit ID Vizag and click run here, see, it got changed. Here we call it as this as an attribute. When you run, if you click on this link, it will open itvizag.com. But this is how scammers will loot you. They will change inside that href tag to something like google.com. Okay. See, for whenever you see this particular website, it will say visit itvizag.com. So whenever you trying to click this particular page, you are in impression, it will go to itvizag.com. But when you click here, it will go to google.com. So that's why it's very easy to manipulate you with HTML tags by styling it with some CSS and stuff. That's why whenever you are clicking any links on web pages, you have to be very much attentive. Okay. So I can change this link to something else. I can change this to facebook.com and save it. When you hover this file here, see, it's not showing any details, but when you click, it will open facebook.com. That's why attributes are plays vital role in HTML to define so many details and also to define so many properties of those tags. So this is a sample HTML tag, which we call it as anchor tag. This anchor tag will have attribute called href. That's where we'll provide link for that HTML tag. Okay. And we have one more tag called image tag. When you want to display images, then you will use this image tag. Image like, for example, try for yourself. See, this is the image of a person standing. And for example, if you want to change the person, okay, then you have to update this particular source file. SRC is nothing but source file. So you can select JPG or JPG, PNG, bit image, TAF, PSD, and there are so many formats like SVG. You can use these formats to display here. For example, I'm Googling some random images and I want to use one of the image. See, maybe this is looking good. Just copy image link, paste it. Okay, this is the image I want to use. So just copy the source image and paste it in source and click run. See, it got changed. Okay, that image got changed. For example, you wanted to use something very good. You can go to Unsplash. This is where you will get so many images for free. There's so many other websites as well, but this is free and you can use. I'm opening image in new tab. Again, I got some content here. I wanted to update this particular source image, update it and click on run. See, this is how you can display these images. For example, you wanted to see it's a website. So you're trying this and it's working. What about my local file? You can copy the same file and come into your notepad and paste it here, save it here. Again, you can refresh your HTML page. I'm refreshing this. This is my local page. Just refresh. See, it's displaying that same image. That's how HTML will work. And this all about image tag with SRC attribute. If you see the same, see, doc HTML we have, HTML starting tag we have, body we have. Again, we have some H2 content. H2 content is nothing but there is a heading, the SRC attribute. That's the heading. And we have some information that is nothing but a paragraph. See, here they are describing that particular source attribute, SRC attribute, with these details. Like HTML images are defined with the img tag, and the file name of the image source is specified in the SRC attribute. So basically, without SRC, this image tag is useless because it don't display any content. That's why HTML tag should have additional attributes to make things better for users and also developers and also the testers, everyone. Testers also use these attributes to test their functionality. Okay, so there are two ways to specify the URL in SRC tab. For example, absolute URL. Absolute URL is nothing but what are the content For example, you are passing the values like this, HTTPS and then website name slash that particular website name and then JPEG, these kind of things. We'll call it as absolute URL. Absolute URL looks like this. It always starts with HTTPS or HTTP or www. These kind of websites, we call it as absolute URLs. Okay. But if it displaying like this without any URL, like HTTPS, HTTP dot www or any these kind of things, without these, we call it as relative URL. Okay. If you want to find the differences, URL does not include domain name. That's we call it as relative URL. If it is having a domain name, then we call it as absolute URL. You cannot use absolute URL in your website unless the content won't void any violations. For example, if the content is restricted, then you cannot use those absolute URLs. So always go for relative URLs. I mean, display the content which already present in your website and which is belongs to you. Then these kind of information you should display, or else you will get some copyright strikes or Google don't rank your website because you are using unauthoritative information, like you are violating some Google rules and regulations. Not Google, it's any website. For example, if you are using some others website to display content, then that's also violation. So better not to use an absolute URL. So use the content which is belongs to you. That's good way. And also use relative URL for your images, that will good for you and also good for your website speed. Okay. So for example, in this case, they are using a relative URL because it's just having img slash girl.jpg. It don't have any domain name. It don't specify anything like W3 schools or WW or something. So we call it as relative URL. Okay, that's the difference between absolute URL and relative URL. What are the other things we have here? There are some other attributes like width and height. So HTML, what is the main definition of HTML? Which structures your details. So here you want to display this pic in 500 by 600 width and height. Okay. For example, you want to change these values to 300. Just run and see. That's how the image got changed. It got shrinked. Okay. Because the height and width are not matching. And also, for example, I can make it this width as 200 and see a little better. And I want to display this very much small, then 40 by 50 and see. It's so small. But image is same. The same image getting displayed using these attributes called width and height. And we are displaying that same image in different width and height. That's the beauty of these attributes. So that's how these width and height will come into picture. So for example, if you see this particular image, the width and height is like, you can inspect that element and wait, it's loading. Again, inspect. See, image width and height, 120 is width and 600 is height. See, width is 120 and height is 600. And alt class they specified as img add and specify this SRC. SRC is nothing but source image. If you see this one, it's not a relative URL. It's an absolute URL. Why? Because they are specifying complete image path. So if you click here, it will open that image. Okay, this is the image they are displaying with width as 120 and height as 600. Okay, that's how width and height attributes will work. And we have something called alt attribute. Alt attribute is nothing but, for example, you have an image, okay, and you want to specify name for an image, and you can specify because this is the image file name. But for search engines, you want to specify what is that image all about, then you will use alt, alt equal to that particular value. Here, alt girl with a jacket. So search engines will clearly understand what is all about that particular image. For example, here girl with a jacket, that's they want to describe that particular girl image. This is how it will look. Okay, is there any change? There will be no change. It's only for search engines. This particular alt girl with a jacket, this is for search engines, not for users. Okay, search engines will work and it will use this content to memorize that particular image. Whenever they want to store that particular image in their database or they want to link that particular image, then they will use this alt attribute. So girl with a jacket. For example, somebody searching for girl with a jacket. Okay, then this particular image will show up. That's how search engines work. That's very long story. We'll come back to later. Here, what we are trying to understand is we already learned about tags. What are the different tags in HTML? Like there will be starting tag, ending tag, and their middle will have some content, and there are some tags which don't have any content. But in the same way, starting tags will have attributes. There are multiple attributes like the href, that's all about links. And we have src tag, that's all about a link, but link to a file, link to a HTML file, sorry, link to a image file. And we have something called as height and width. That is also another story. Like if you want to specify height and width of an image, then you will go for width and height attributes. And there are one more attribute for search engines to use, that's called as alt attribute. For example, you are displaying an image like a girl with a jacket. Image is taking time to load and alt already loads and it will show up to users saying like girl with jacket. That particular image getting loaded. Just be patient. That's how alt attribute works. If you don't specify alt attribute, search engines don't know what is all about. It waits for image to load and user will see, then user will understand, okay, this is the image. If you use alt attribute, that's a different story. And we have something called, see what happens if we try to display an image that don't exist. For example, you don't have that particular image and you want to still display that particular image. See, this is what happens. When there is a network error and they don't have a bandwidth to load that particular image, then it will show up like this, girl with a jacket. That alt attribute will show up here. Okay. So we will end this session for today. Okay. We'll join tomorrow at the same time at 7 a.m. And thanks very much for joining. Thank you.